Welcome to Season 4 of your Next Mission video podcast. We have a great show for you today. In commemoration of Memorial Day, we're excited to have Karen Worcester of Wreaths across America with us. She'll tell us the history behind this wonderful organization and how in 2022, 3 million volunteers placed 2.7 million wreaths on graves all across America. She'll also talk about their mission of teaching our youth the values of service, sacrifice, patriotism, and the responsibilities of freedom. You won't want to miss this one. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Your Next Mission video podcast, where we tell the stories of those who have served in the past and those who are serving today. From transition to financial wellness, VA benefits to mental health, we cover issues facing veterans, active military, and their families. Now here's your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army and co-founder of the American Freedom Foundation, Jack L. Tilley.
Hello out there, warriors past and present, your families, and thank you for your service to our great country. Now, before we get started, I personally want to thank our presenting sponsors, Navy Federal Credit Union, Purdue Global, and USAA for making your next mission happen. They love our veterans and families, and I'm going to say it every week. We love them too. As I said earlier, we have a great show today. We'll be remembering all those who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the service to our country on this Memorial Day. And I'm so honored to introduce Karen Worcester, Executive Director of Wreaths Across America. Karen, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you, sir, for your service.
Well, God bless you. Karen, before we get into any of the stuff, we want to talk about all this stuff. Before we do that, could you tell the audience just a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a middle-aged lady, probably on the old age lady side. I'm proud American, so proud of this country and those who've served and built it. I've got 6 kids and 9 grandkids, and like I said, just a passion to make sure that my kids, my grandkids, enjoy the same freedoms that we have growing up in this country.
Oh, God bless. 6 kids. I got 2 grandkids and I've got 4 great grandbabies now. So I'm building up here a little bit. Karen, would you please tell us about the history of Wreaths Across America and what it was the motivation for starting this organization and what's the mission?
Well, Wreaths Across America wasn't planned. My family has been in the balsam products business actually, my husband started it back in 1974, the year that we got married, and he made wreaths. It was a cottage industry, and he sold them around to food stands and grocery stores, and then he actually helped develop mail order business for balsam wreaths. And so fast forward to 1992, and he had a surplus of wreaths that year, and it was the middle of winter in the middle of Maine, and not too many people wanted to buy those wreaths because they all are involved in the making of those wreaths. So he recalled a trip that he'd won as a paper boy when he was only 12 years old, which was a long time ago. And one of the things that he got to see, the trip was to Washington, D.C., was Arlington National Cemetery. And even as a kid, it just stayed with him. It is something to see and very humbling. So he, being the patriot that he always had been, wanted to do something meaningful, said, maybe I can take these and the kids and go put these on graves at Arlington as a thank you for my family, as a lesson for our children. And unbelievably, he made some calls to some state politicians, and they reached out to the cemetery. The cemetery called in, I think there were like 12 total volunteers. And we loaded up the truck. We actually loaded up a volunteer trucking company, Bluebird Ranch Trucking Company. Said, yeah, we'll haul them, you bring them. And we went down. My husband went with some kids, one of our kids, some others, and they drove right through, worked all day placing those wreaths on the graves. And they're in the oldest section of the cemetery. Section 27 is actually Civil War section. But when they come home, the impact that had on them, they repeated names and started looking up things, and it just really moved us. And so we just committed, as long as they'd let us do that, we would take Wreaths to Arlington. So we did that as a family until 2005. And in 2005, it happened that there was a Pentagon photographer at the cemetery. He took what we call the iconic picture of the wreaths. It had snowed a little bit. The green wreaths with red bows against those stones was beautiful and breathtaking. And long story short, they put it on the internet, and that was in December. By January 2006, we had just been inundated with people that, is this real? How can we help? We want to do this. We don't believe this. And can you prove this is real? And people started sending money, and our little company had to start hiring somebody to help send money back. And it just grew from that. People wanted to, if it was true, they wanted to be part of what we were doing.
Yeah.
So it grew from that. By 2006, when we got ready to go to Arlington, it had blossomed into us stopping along the routes so people could talk to us and wish us on our way and just want to get involved. So this 501c3 that was actually formed in 2007 was just other people wanting to be involved with what we were doing.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for what you guys are doing. It's incredible. And I could see how people would really like to get involved. At the opening statement, I said, we had you had 3 million volunteers, and you placed 2.7 million wreaths and graves across America. I can't. I'm trying to fathom that. That is incredible. How do you get the volunteers, and really, how do you get the volunteers? How do you find all the locations that you want to go to?
Well, I'd like to take credit for it, but I'm not going to, because we have the most incredible volunteers, and they literally come to us, and they always have.
Yeah.
Lots of times they'll attend a ceremony somewhere else, and then they'll say, how can we bring this to our own community? And although we do almost all of the national and state cemeteries, our largest growth now is communities that want their loved ones honored. We will go anywhere there's a United States veteran buried, including overseas. We've made 2 trips overseas, and we'll be resuming that this year. And people just go to wreathsacrossamerica.org if they're interested in participating. We will send them that. My husband is the founder, still donates ceremonial wreaths, which includes a wreath represents each branch of the military plus POW MIA, and they can have a ceremony. There's simple directions. What's kind of incredible that we don't say enough about it is that we do this at the same time on the same day all over the country. I mean, it's crazy. People said it couldn't be done, but never underestimate the people. Sometimes you have to forget about the top. I will say initially when it started to grow, we reached out to the President's Remembrance Council and told them what we wanted to do and that we wanted to do it all at once and all that. And they said that's not possible. So then we hung up the phone and went to the people.
Yeah.
We worked early on with the Civil Air Patrol, great organization, auxiliary of the Air Force, brought the kids in. And one of the biggest things that we did, we really listened to what the people were saying.
Yeah.
And that's really how the mission was formed, from listening to Gold Star families and veterans and just the need that was there.
Yeah.
I can't take a lot of credit for it. It's grown because of the people.
Well, you should take a lot of credit because you're doing a tremendous job. As you was talking, I was thinking, I had a boss that I worked, General Erickson Secchi. He used to have a great saying. He said, people just need to roll their sleeves up and get the job done. And when you're talking, I'm thinking about you. So you just rolled the sleeves up, didn't ask anybody to help. You just said it's the right thing to do and got out there and did it. I'm sure you have a lot of stories about how this program really impacted the lives, not only the veterans and families, but the volunteers who participated. Do you have a story you can share with us about how it impacted some of those lives?
Well, we hear the stories all the time, but I will tell you what a realization for me was, because I had worked with so many people, and I remember the first time ever that we had a group of Gold Star mothers that wanted to go on the convoy, and the convoy now, we take a whole week to go to Arlington, and we stop at schools and municipalities and talk about the mission, which is remember the fallen, honor those that serve, and most importantly, teach. But I was about to meet some Gold Star mothers, and frankly, I'd never met a Gold Star mother. And it was late at night. I was in a little makeshift office that we had been donated to us, and these women were supposed to go to their hotel. Instead, they decided to stop at my office, and I literally did not know what I was going to say to these women. And they came through the door like a house of fire. And before I knew it, we were talking, and they were talking about their kids, and I was talking about my kids, and they just talked about their children and whether they had one or two, but those children included the children that they had lost, that they had buried, in service, that had died in service to country. And I remember by 11:30, we were fast friends. They left to go to the hotel, and I had about a 3-mile drive to my house. But when I got in my car and started driving home, I was overcome at that moment because I call my kids every night, all of them, every one of them, every night. And these moms can't do that. So how they keep their children alive is by sharing those stories. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks that's the sacrifice. It's life. It's not statistics. And these moms, who many of them my age, love this country so much when they've given so much.
Yeah.
And they have great lessons to teach us about sacrifice. And they have great lessons to teach us about responsibility, because freedom isn't free, but it's also fluid, and it's still being paid for. And who's going to pay the check a generation from now if we don't teach kids what's so wonderful about this country?
Yeah, I think God puts people on earth to do specific things, and I'm sure that God put you on this earth to do what you're currently doing. So, thank you for what you're doing. And during the prep call, you said something really that I've never heard before, but it really resonated with me. Veterans die twice. Once when their heart stops, and once when people stop saying their name. That's incredible.
I didn't make that up.
Yeah,
and I can't tell you who said it first, but I'll tell you, as we way back when my husband and the kids first went to Arlington, and they just said, you find yourself saying the names out loud. And so my husband always said, when we place these wreaths, we're going to pause. We're not decorating graves. We're going to stop, and we're going to pause and make a connection with this person.
Yeah.
And then it was a few years later that somebody brought me that quote. And when I shared it with some of the Gold Star families, and it's so very true that a headstone is so important. It shows their resting place. It documents them. But years later, another quote that I heard, and I actually have it written on my desk, was by Pericles, who said, "What you leave behind is not what's engraved in a stone monument, but what's woven into the lives of others." And the way that we can weave that history of these people that sacrificed for our freedom is to speak those names to our kids and make it personal. It's not about, get out the flag, it's Memorial Day. It's get out the flag every day and remember that these people are part of your own history and heritage. Make it personal, say the names, and keep that alive. So as important as the fact that this year we're on track, we'll do 3 million wreaths at probably 4,000 locations, and every name will be spoken out loud on that day. And that's powerful. And that makes kids understand and people understand. There's a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah. Karen, don't go anywhere. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back here. We're talking with Karen Wooster, Executive Director of Wreaths Across America, and you're watching Your Next Mission video podcast with me, your host, Jack Tilley, 12th Sergeant Major Army. And don't forget, if you're enjoying this discussion, please like us. Click on that subscribe button below. Also, click on the bell next to the subscribe button to receive notifications of all of our upcoming video podcasts. Karen, you said that the biggest part of the mission of Wreaths Across America is not just placing the wreaths on the graves, but it's about teaching. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that, Ronald Reagan said we're one generation away from, freedom being extinct. If we don't teach the kids what's good about this country, and I may have shared with you when we talked earlier that somebody who I greatly admire and listen to is Roger Donlin, who's the first Medal of Honor recipient for the Vietnam War. received his medal back then and has lived a long life. And I interviewed him myself. Oh God, it's probably been a couple of years ago now. And I said, Roger, what's number one thing that this organization can do to impact freedom and remembering? And he didn't bat an eye. He said, we need to teach kids to love this country because they're bombarded with things. It's not like it used to be. Patriotism begins at home, but even home life is different. And when we're what 20 or plus years away from 9/11, so kids today don't understand what a threat to freedom is, and they don't even understand what freedom is. And I think we take it for granted. So we need to teach kids the cost of freedom. We need to teach them the importance of freedom, but we also need to teach kids to take responsibility for freedom.
Yeah.
Because it's moving, it's living, it's something that has to be nurtured. And so by teaching through the stories of great courage and character, by teaching kids, and I think about this all the time, and every year we have a theme, and our theme this year is Serve and Succeed, because kids are bombarded with things on the news that show our American veterans, our heroes, as disabled, somebody who's lost their limbs, or somebody who's, you see the 22 a day, or you see homeless. And we need to be vigilant and, supporting those issues. But we also need to show children that there are thousands and thousands of people who have served and taken those skills that they learned in the military and life skills that they've learned there and gone on to succeed and be great mentors to other people. So Serve and Succeed has been an opportunity for us to show kids that you can get great tools by serving in the military and learn more about your country and learn more about yourself by participating in keeping freedom alive.
Yeah, one of the things too that people don't realize, only 1% of our country serve in the military, and I went back, and I don't really actually know the number, but I did go back a while back, and I looked at it. It says in the Revolutionary War, like 650,000 people. In Vietnam was 58,220. So I would probably guess, I'm guessing a little bit, but probably over 1 million people have died for the freedoms of our country. And I think the other thing that has to happen is just like we're doing right now. People need to tell their story to younger adults so they understand. I'm not sure they'll understand. Some of them will, some of them won't. But I think we need to do all we can. That's why we're doing this show, to make sure we educate our country about the things that people are doing and the things that people have done. The last thing I'll say here before we take a quick break is that there's a lot of people that go to war that come back with scars. Scars that you just can't see. I mean, for myself personally, I was overran, 20 wounded, 7 killed, but there's still things that is just hard to talk about. That makes me tear up, and it's just tough. But it's the way it is. I love this country, and I think that we need to do all we can each and every day, just like you're doing. God bless you again for what you're doing. Karen, we're going to take another quick break, a commercial break. We'll be right back. We've got a lot more to talk about, so don't you go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're watching Your Next Mission video podcast.
You're watching Your Next Mission video podcast, proudly presented by Navy Federal Credit Union, the most trusted credit union owned by members of the military community, serving all branches of the armed forces and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. Purdue Global. You're ready for a comeback, and with Purdue Global, you can do more than take classes. You can take charge of your story, of your career, of your life. Earn a degree you can be proud of and get an education employers respect. Start your comeback at PurdueGlobal.edu. USAA. A promise is a trust not to be broken, whether spoken with an oath
Do solemnly swear
or sealed with a pinky. And after 100 years, USAA is still taking care of the military community and their families. That's their mission always. For more, visit USAA.com. Now back to your host, the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack L. Tilley.
Welcome back. We're blessed to be here today with Karen Worcester, Executive Director of Wreaths across America. And I want all of our viewers to reach out to him directly. Tell us about your transition. I want to help you as much as I can. Tell us what topics you'd like us to cover. It's not my show, it's our show. So tell us what you want us to talk about. You can call or text me at 844-424-1134, and I'll reach out to you. Or send me an email at smatilley@yournextmission.org. Karen, we're heading into our final segment with you today. And first of all, I want to say I've really enjoyed talking to you. But I just have a couple of more questions here. Would you tell us about the Remember Tree program? I guess you have a Remember Tree program up there. What is it?
Well, again, it's a Remembrance Tree program, and it was just a personal gesture. We had, as we'd gotten further into Wreaths Across America, we made a lot of friends with Gold Star families, and there were a couple of Gold Star families members. One was actually a wife, one was a Gold Star sister, and they loved being here on the land where the balsam is grown. And so my husband, one day, he just said, let's make a dog tag and let them place it on the tree. And the significance is it's a living monument to them, because every third year, just the tips, the boughs are clipped off the tree and they're woven into veterans' wreaths, which go literally all over the world. So we took them out and let them pick a tree, and it was emotional. And that's just what they said. They said, this is different than the stone. This is different. This is something that keeps their memory literally alive and reaching. And so they're wonderful women, but they went to their respective groups. One was a Gold Star mom, like I said. So she took the thought to the Gold Star Mothers Convention. And long story short, we now have over 16,000 dog tags.
Oh, wow.
Nestled in the branches. And it's breathtaking. Like it's at sunset, on a cool summer evening with a breeze, you can hear them. Over time, we've had requests. We have 1 8-acre area that literally has a dog tag for every Medal of Honor recipient since that program started. And it's a great teaching opportunity. So they'll bring school buses and kids get to walk among these trees and read the dog tags. And as we place a dog tag out in the woods and down East Maine, we use a microphone and we say the names. We say the names because it's so important that you remember that these statistics represent lives, not just the lives of the people that died, but they represent the pain and loss of the family who has to go on without them. And so it's powerful stuff. And the Remembrance Tree program is free. It's at wreathsacrossamerica.org. You can find it under programs. You fill out the information you want on the tag. And if you can't get here, we'll place it for you.
Yeah. As you were talking, I guess you would probably do you have a lot from Vietnam or Iraq or a mixture of all above, I guess?
Some groups, like there are some groups that want to have their own section, so we'll actually put a sign up that says this section is dedicated to. There's one section that's for LEOs who served in the military and then went into law enforcement. So it's up to the people where they want to go. We keep everything, we diagram everything so we can take people back to their trees. And it's really funny. People will come and visit their trees. It's a really emotional. I'll tell you a quick story. We had one young woman who she was in Afghanistan and she lost in a chemical accident. She actually worked as like a hostess. I'm not a hostess, but she was the first person to introduce generals and that sort of thing, really showing my ignorance about that. But anyway, she became exposed to a chemical and it caused this like an explosion of blood clots. Long story short, she lost her leg and she lost most of her eyesight. She's legally blind and she was struggling. So she came to one of our events and she tagged a tree. And as she said, I'm going again here, sorry, as she tagged the tree, she really sobbed. And, we were feeling bad if we triggered something. And when she finally composed herself, she said, this was an epiphany for me. Because like this tree that lost its branches and continues to give, I lost my limbs, but I still have much to offer. And that things like that, they stick with you. And those are simple things, just simple things, simple ways for people to tell their story and get that pain out. What we do at Wreaths Across America is very healing. It's very healing when you can go to Arlington National Cemetery. And the year before COVID, I was on top of the Women's Memorial watching people come in, and they stopped counting at 90,000 people.
Wow.
And I remember standing there with tears running down my face because I'm thinking, these people are left and right in all colors and walks of life and faiths, and they're all here for a common mission. And they came in peaceably and they went and they placed these wreaths and said the names. And you looked out across and you see these families with a little kid in a stroller running their fingers over the name of somebody and really teaching their kids. And they could teach from whatever perspective they want to, but they were there as a community and they all came together. And when you think about that this year, 4,000 cemeteries all over the country, and the same thing, people from all walks. Our rules are we're all inclusive, we're non-political, and we're there to honor, remember, teach. And it's powerful to see the healing and just bringing together people. Because if you can rally around one thing, then you can have a beginning to bring us back together, I think.
Mm. Wow. I can't thank you enough. You also have a sponsorship program that provides money for nonprofit partners. What kind of impact are you having with that?
Well, that's kind of crazy. I think early on, one of the things we decided that it would be disingenuous for us to have the mission Remember, Honor, Teach and not work with other people who've been doing the same thing for many years. We work with, local VFWs, American Legions, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts. We work with the Gary Sinise Foundation, and we work with a, teenager in a community that wants to raise dollars for a guide dog for somebody in their community. And what you do is you sign up as a sponsorship group, and for every wreath that you get sponsored for your community, you get $5 of that to put towards your nonprofit or your mission. And it's unbelievable. I know during COVID, we just thrived during COVID. I don't know if it brought people closer to family or closer to the feeling of country, and we were able to help other organizations thrive. And to date, we've given back more than $20 million, and most of those are veteran support organizations that we work with.
Wow, congratulations. How can people help? Is there a website or a phone number?
Yeah, wreathsacrossamerica.org. I do just want to get in a plug for our Teach program. The most important part of this mission to me is teach. We have to teach the next generation and give my generation and others a reminder that freedom isn't free. And we have full curriculum for all ages. We're all the time running program. All of it is free. You can get it on Teacher Pay Teacher, absolutely free. Or you can go to the website under programs and find all of our Teach. It's so, so, so important. There are one-off projects. If you, for instance, want Memorial Day or 4th of July, there are things you can download for your grandchildren and start talking to kids about being responsible, because freedom is a gift, but it's a gift is alive as a puppy, and we're all responsible to nurture it and feed it and take care of it, or it will not be here. Yeah. We have to bring the focus back to how important it is. And our Teach mission, we have a mobile education exhibit that goes all over the country. That can be requested as well at wreathsacrossamerica.org. And I would be remiss not to mention that we work in conjunction with other 501c3s and have Wreaths Across America Radio, which is a veteran's voice, where we share all information we can about services available, not only for veterans in need, but for their families as well. And all those things you can find at wreathsacrossamerica.org.
My goodness. First of all, again, thank you so much for what you do. I have to tell you.
No,
go ahead.
I appreciate you thanking me. But this, like almost no other organization, every single location, the responsibility becomes out of somebody local, a volunteer. Yeah. They go and get their sponsorships. They represent us. We have people coming to us every day. And of those, based on the traffic to our events, a third of our volunteers are kids, and they deserve all the credit. And if anybody is discouraged about the state of where we are in this country with patriotism, all we're doing is trying to keep ahead of these amazing volunteers and connecting the dots and keeping us focused and providing tools so that they can share the mission with their communities, because this is volunteer just driven. And I thank them for pushing me out of my comfort zone and making me the executive director, because it's been a true blessing. Yeah. And I'm very grateful. And I'm thankful for you to give us this opportunity.
Well, I'll rephrase that then. I'll say thanks to all the volunteers and you for all you guys are doing. I know that works. Hey, first of all, let me say, this is an amazing discussion. I know you want to give credit to everybody, but you are, and your volunteers are doing a wonderful job. Any final thoughts? Anything that maybe we missed when we was talking? Anything you want to share with the audience?
No, I've been thinking a lot about Memorial Day, as everybody does, and it always comes back to one thing for me, that many of these young people, as they did heroic things or were just in the wrong place as they died, that the best way to honor them is to take care of what they died for, and that's our freedom. And we really need to be mindful that we stand up. We stand up for freedom, and we stand up for our rights, and we teach our children that their voice isn't just to say, hey, what about me? I want this, I want that. With freedom comes responsibility. And I think that's one of the most important things we can do as parents, as citizens, is to really take a look, peel back the onion, and see what we can do to make ourselves and our commitment to freedom stronger.
Well said. God bless you. Again, thank you and your volunteers for all that you do. Unbelievable. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks to Karen Worcester from Wreaths Across America for being with us today. I'm Jack L. Tilley, 12th Sergeant of the Army. You've been watching Your Next Mission video podcast, and thank you for watching it. It's an incredible show talking about loyalty, dedication, enthusiasm, motivation, never forgetting that freedom is not free. It's about us. It's about all of us. Please visit our website at yournextmission.org and leave me a review. I always say, I hope it's a good review, but if it's not, I guess I can take that. You can also visit our nonprofit partners there who can provide you with so many services that will assist you in your transition from the military. Also, please visit our corporate partners and see all the jobs that are available. Please know we, myself, Karen, and all of our volunteers want to help you any way we can. Please follow me on all my personal social media pages, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Rumble. And if you enjoyed this discussion with Karen, and I know that you have, please like us. Click on that subscribe button below. Don't forget, we want to hear from you. Please leave me a message or send me a text at 844-424-1134. Send me an email at SMA Tilley at yournextmission.org. Thanks again to Karen Worcester for joining us today. It was just incredible. It was just great having her on the show. Memorial Day is something special for all of us. It's a day of remembering the kind of sacrifices our veterans made for this country. The other day I was thinking about when I was in the Pentagon and all the people that probably throughout my life that I'd seen die in war. And so I sat down and I tried to remember the names of those people. And what was really a shame is I couldn't remember. I couldn't remember the names, and I couldn't remember the people that had died. You see, somebody does die twice. Once when your heart stops, and the second time is when you stop saying their names. So this is a special day. Don't forget. Again, thanks for watching. Thanks to New Mind Studios and, of course, our presenting sponsors, Navy Federal Credit Union, Purdue Global, and USAA. We appreciate all you do for our military. And as always, see you on the high ground. Hooah!
You've been listening to Your Next Mission, brought to you by the American Freedom Foundation. Learn more by visiting yournextmission.org.